I want to address something that impacts everybody's life, and that is our beliefs about ourselves. We all have voices in our heads that we hear, and sometimes we feed into. Those voices can be positive or negative. But I would like to address how this affects teenagers with testing. Okay, so in school, you take classes that maybe you like some of them, maybe you don't like any of them, maybe you like all of them. But usually it's common for there to be a class that you don't particularly like. Okay, and sometimes that correlates with our skills. It's easy to enjoy things that we're good at. If I'm good at math, I can say, yeah, I like math. That's a big part of why we like it. Rarely are we going to say, oh, I love the challenge of math. That usually corresponds to disliking something, okay? Now, because this is so tied to our abilities and performance, it's very easy to make another mental logical jump and say, I am good or not good. Good or not good at math, okay? And then this becomes kind of like a tape recorder in our heads. If I really struggle with math, I have this voice that is like, I'm really not good at it. It's so hard for me, okay? And it's this cycle over and over and over again. This dynamic has to do with our ego, okay? The ego is the part of us that is attached to illusion, okay? It is the part of us that feels trapped and bound by certain laws, okay? Our ego is that voice recorder in our head. But we do exist outside of our ego. We have a real self. And that real self exists beyond our likes or dislikes and what we're good or not good at. Society generally focuses on building up the ego, okay? Society rewards people who have these very strong personalities and are always showing off and talking about what they like or what they're good at. But the essence of life, the actual life force and life energy inside of us, supports the real self, okay? And the real self has nothing to do with likes and dislikes and whether we're good or bad, okay? The real self is not determined by our grades. A real self has nothing to do with that voice recorder, okay? The real self is similar to the way that the heart works, okay? Now, in our bodies, our heart produces an electromagnetic force, and it creates a field of energy around our bodies. And that field is actually quite wide, okay? So constantly your heart is pumping, and you have this energy that you're transmitting, okay? So just like how we're not totally limited to our actual physical bodies, we have a field of energy around us, which is scientifically proven, okay? In the same way, our real self exists beyond the voice recorder, okay? The real self is the core of who we are beyond the physical boundaries that we put on ourselves and the social boundaries that we put on ourselves, okay? So if you are somebody who struggles with self-esteem, confidence, or testing anxiety, I want you to try this. I want you to identify what your ego is telling you. Maybe your ego is telling you, and I have struggled with this, I have said, I'm not good enough. Okay? But first I had to find out, what is this belief that I had? What was this voice in my head? And why did I have it? Then I had to treat it with care, like as if I had an infection. As if I had a cut on my hand, I would put Neosporin on the cut, okay, to prevent it from getting infected. In order to stop this negative belief from affecting my life, I had to heal this belief and I had to change it. So I had to say, I see this, and I'm going to choose to release it. And instead, I'm going to access my real self. And my real self says there's nothing wrong with me. My real self, deep down, I really do know that I'm beautiful, I'm smart. And I don't have to compare myself to anybody else. Okay? I am good enough on my own. I don't have to have somebody else's validation, okay? And there are a few different ways to release the ego self and access your real self. You can talk to a certified therapist. You can write down the negative beliefs about you and rip them up and then either toss them into the air, throw them in the trash, bury them in the ground, and then you can write the new beliefs that you have about yourself. And if you ever hear the word affirmation, an affirmation is you affirming the real things inside of you. It's different than bragging, okay? I think it's easy if you struggle with anxiety or self-esteem to think, oh, well, I don't want to brag. I don't want to look like I'm too selfish. No. Your real self deserves to have affirming positive things, okay? So you can write down affirmations. To affirm means to validate. To affirm means to create safety by saying, I see you. Okay? So it takes some deep digging, but see yourself for who you really are. Okay? And it might seem uncomfortable, but give yourself the opportunity to push yourself and say, this is a lie. And I deserve the truth. Okay?